Hey everybody, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, and I just found these bubble tea straws that I had bought a long time ago. I assume at the Dollar Tree, and when I was doing sci-fi stuff, and I forgot all about them. But anyways, those make good pipes and stuff. I still haven't cleaned my crafting area or my entire workshop here. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. So I bought this thing of sponges since I couldn't find any of my sponges. These aren't the kind I usually like, but it's all I really found. I got this sick makeup brush. It comes with this nifty case. Look at that. It's a dry brush machine. It came with a little case I have no use for, and if I was doing sci-fi, I definitely would set that in my box sometime in the future. Oh, there's that knife I couldn't find. Okay. Got a couple Mod Podges. Matte. I usually buy it in a bigger container, but they do have that at the Dollar Tree. Then I got these for $1 a piece. See the red tag? They don't both have that, but they were in a bin. It's called a no sale. These are something that they don't sell very well, so the manager says, hey, you know, if you can sell these, we'll give you a bonus. They're called no sale, and I guess they were $1. So I got these, which could be used as little paint trays or whatever. I usually try to use stuff that's, you know, going to be garbage. Then I got these cups. They're called mini cordial glasses, which they just look like giant shot glasses. For sci-fi, these would be baller. Lots of ideas for those for sci-fi. But for fantasy, I have a theory that a miniature fits in the top of that. And lo and behold, a miniature fits in the top of that. So, when you get to that point in your crafting journey that you just kind of know where things fit by looking at it, then you have a responsibility to make something out of it. So, I guess the first step would be to rough this up. So that glue sticks to it. I don't know where my t-shirt I always uses, but I have another one here. I have a bag of clothes my kids have ruined or grown out of or stained that can't be donated. This one did. Oh, okay. It's stained as shit. Okay. Autism awareness. That's what Lady Doom does, is she works with autistic children. So we have this nice looking thing. And I'm feeling lazy. So we're just going to use this crappy thin foam for the job. This is from the Dollar Tree as well, I believe. And we're just going to do this as low impact as possible. Is there no pliers in my drawer? Well, of course not. Because when your children get old enough to understand the value of pliers, you don't get to enjoy the value of pliers anymore. Okay. Protect your local sanitation workers. Let's make some bricks. So, for those of you that know me in real life, you know I'm always engaged in some kind of crusade. In the past year and some, the crusade has been against a corrupt city. Trying to make the corrupt city understand that public servants are elected people and appointed people and hired people who work for society, not for themselves. And of course we see this on state levels and on federal levels too. Don't get me wrong. This is not unique to a small town problem. But you have a lot more control in a small town than you have on a federal or a state level for sure. But even then it feels like you're punching uphill all the time. So today I was, one of the people that's in the fight with me, well, two of the people that are in the fight with me were getting FOIA requests answered, and I went with them to be a witness / security. And it was not what I would call a particularly fun situation. So I think the best way to handle this is to glue these on using the natural curve and then to cut the brick shapes into them after the fact. I think so. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it started like that. Kind of work my way around. But we have to fight against injustice. You might say, well, why do we have to? Well, because if people aren't held accountable, they continue to misbehave. If we don't stand up and say, hey, what the hell are you doing? They'll just keep doing it. Look at that. That's not bad. So we have a civic duty to stand up against what's unjust. Even if it's not necessarily in alignment with what we think is right and wrong on a personal level sometimes. If you dig deep enough and you find things that even on a legal level that doesn't affect you in a personal way, it's part of a symptom of a larger problem. And that's where I'm at. It started with just fighting against corruption in my water department. And it has evolved, or should I say devolved, into a much, much more significant, larger fight. It is a fight against tyranny for the soul of my city. For the children and the adults and the people that are here that are not being represented, and decisions are being made to steal their quality of life and to create financial burdens that they cannot shoulder. I might be doing semi-decent in life. I might not be starving, but there are people who are suffering. And some of you are going to ask about political parties. Well, I'm an independent. True and true. If you look at the donor lists for both parties, it's pretty evident to me that they're not on our side. None of them. But locally, we have nonpartisan elections, which means that in theory there should be no party involvement in what's going on. Doesn't mean it's not happening, but that's what it's supposed to mean. It's supposed to mean that our parties have nothing to do with this. Now, as an independent, I don't really have a party. So, I'm a big fan of free thinking. I think that groupthink is dangerous. I think that we should, every 20 years, do a federal litmus test to see what the general public wants and try to base our laws to maintain a republic off of that. Now, if I were to run the president saying shit like that, I'd probably be killed. Not by the current government or the last government, but by the individuals who are non-governmental. The lobbyists and stuff that have embedded themselves in our way of life would not want to hear that I'm not here to push my political ideals or any donor's political ideals. It's not what I'm here for. I'm here to push the will of the people. And nobody wants to hear that shit. Because the elites think that we're too dumb to know what we want or what's good or what's right. The elites think we're not qualified to control our own destinies. Are we? Fuck. I think so. I can read. I can check history. I can look at what's going on around the world. So am I qualified or not? Who knows? But I know that I'm qualified to care. And I know that I'm strong enough to stand up against injustice when others can't. Some people don't have it in them to fight. If there's something the Army taught me, is that you can win any fight. Just not always right now. So, I've been in this fight for a while, and it's been looking like a loss up to this point. But I've been biding my time and playing smart, talking to people, getting delegates involved, and people above my city involved. One of the big problems is one of the lawyers that works for our fucking city is on the State Ethics Commission. So at one point in time, we thought we had the State Ethics Commission on our side, and they just kind of backed out on us. And it turns out that one of our local lawyers here is a reviewer for them. And he also works for the city. Surprise, surprise. Corruption at its finest. What's really funny is I'm sure some of you are listening. And you think you know what party's doing what. Because these people are actually, even though it's a nonpartisan election, they are affiliated with political parties. Some of you would not even begin to believe what is going on here. It is crazy time. So they're using terms like fee and saying it's not a tax. They are playing games that you can't fight without legal help. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure this is a common problem all over the country, but immediately it's affecting me in a very negative way. It's making me grumpy. Though small victories do matter to me. They broke a law for 25 years and I was able to prove they were breaking it and they had to start following it. That was a nice little victory for me. It didn't fix everything, but trust me, to me it made a difference. And to the people who are trying to back me in this fight, and the very few people that are actually standing up next to me, which that blows my mind. We got some serious fucking sheeple in this world. It's very easy to say it's none of my business, guys. But the truth is, at some point it becomes your business. Whether it affects your company or a personal business you own or it affects your children, a lot of these issues become your business whether you want to admit it or not. We're starting to get a little wonky. Let's try to clean it up on the next pass. One thing that you have to remember, though, anytime you're fighting a public entity, make sure you don't let it get so personal that you can't control your own actions. I see a lot of these people getting mad and throwing fits. And your credibility with your fellow citizens can come under attack if you lose your cool, and I've seen it happen. Now, I get mad, but not publicly. Yeah, I've gotten really mad, like furious, screaming, angry. But in public, I keep my shit together because I don't want to lose my credibility. I have made some pretty funny political cartoons, to be fair, though. You could do this a lot faster. I'm actually just like using this as a cathartic kind of like chill scenario where I'm just having fun crafting this and bullshitting with y'all. I needed a few more strips than what I cut. That's okay. I know where there's more. Lady Doom brought it to my attention that I'm not fair. Anytime I meet somebody from her past, it's always some like dude that had a crush on her back in the day or something. Like, there are no guys that I have met in her life that were just like legitimately like a friend of hers. Like every one of them I've ever met had a thing for my wife. And you guys, you know that generally when you have a female friend, generally, not always, there's a waiting game involved. You're there waiting out for your moment to get a chance. And some of these people have been out of her life and in her life and out of her life, you know, and I don't keep female friends for that exact reason. Because I don't want to give the impression that that's what I'm doing. And I don't want my wife to feel like she is threatened by anybody. So some dude that she met back in the day or went to school with or whatever, I don't know, worked with them, whatever the situation was, many years ago she knew a guy, and he's gone through a rough patch. He's been married and he's divorced now, and he's unhappy, and I don't know his fucking story, man. I try not to know these people's fucking stories, right? But apparently she wants him to come to D&D. And I said no. Because these motherfuckers are always fucking sniffing around at my wife. I've had to kick other people out of my group for sniffing at my fucking wife. You got a pretty fucking woman who plays D&D. What do you think? Of course fucking nerds are sniffing, right? This ain't fucking secret science. This is just biology. So anyways, fuck. Sorry, I said secret science. It cracked me up. So anyways, I said no. Because I was divorced, and when I was divorced, I was sniffing around old flames and people I had crushes on in the past, trying to see if I could throw enough shit at the wall that something would stick. So the last thing I'm going to do is give a guy an opportunity to come sniffing around. So when she asked if he could come play D&D, I said, fuck no. I didn't say it in those words to her, obviously. But we're just talking candidly here. And I am a bit of a potty mouth, for those of you that know me. I try not to be, but I fail. So then I'm like, we got 2 new players coming next week because we lost some players because of their employment changing. We play on the weekend. So I informed her there's some new players coming, a husband and a wife. See, I try to keep a good mix at the table. I don't want it to be a sausage fest. And I don't want my wife to be the only woman. Because then what tends to happen is nerds sniff around. Yeah, I know, I sound like a total bitch. I can't fucking stand when people sniff around at my wife. I'm sorry. So anyways, yeah. She informed me that it's not fair that I invited new people. And then when she found out, she didn't ask me who the people were. Then when she found out who they were, she was like, oh, okay. But she said I wasn't fair. I'm willing to not be fair. Because being smart enough to recognize, to keep threats or potential threats out of your home isn't wrong. It's not. It's not wrong. It might seem wrong, but if you stop and ask yourself, mosquito, why is this guy sniffing around at your wife after not talking to her for all these years? There's probably a pretty good reason. Probably. Now we have a nice looking tower there. And we need something in there to fill that in. You know, any kind of little circular object. If you have like a piece of cardboard base or something that would fit in there, that'd be nice. I have a soda bottle cap that just, no, it's too fucked up. How's this one looking? No. You might be like, Doom, you're being paranoid. Yeah. Better be paranoid than putting somebody in a situation where they can make a bad decision. I believe in the nuclear family. I think that we have enough statistics showing us that having a mother and father that are together and present has substantial benefits. I don't think this is a mystery of the world. I think this is just a fact. And I am willing to fucking be petty to make sure that all my shit is kept how I want it to be. So I would kick somebody out of D&D. Well, the dude I kicked out of D&D, you wouldn't fucking believe this. This dude, like, would creep. My brother brought him around. My brother doesn't play with us anymore, or at all anymore. He met a girl and his life changed. But my brother brought this. My brother has a way of fucking finding the most pitiful motherfuckers and befriending them. And I don't know what the story is there. I have theories, but I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a sociologist. I'm just a fucking schmuck. You want to talk about chemistry? I'm your guy. You want to talk about humans? I have a lot of opinions, but not a lot of facts. So anyways, I need some toothpicks or something to simulate the ladder at which you would get up here. I think is what we need now. So anyways, my brother has a way of attracting these fucking specialtons. Oh, I found those damn pliers. I had them. Sorry, kids. It wasn't you this time. This time. So my brother has a way of, like I said, attracting specialtons. And, he brings this specialton around, and I feel bad for the dude. He went to high school with my aunt, so he's about 10 years older than me. He doesn't have friends. As a matter of fact, when he wasn't playing D&D with us, or coming to our family events that we invited him to, he was playing a 2nd edition campaign with 12 players in it, where he was the DM and all 12 players. Don't worry. He was using my DM style. That makes it better. So, okay, I shouldn't make fun of this guy. But let me tell the story. He would creep after D&D and hang on, after it was time for bed, because, we played pretty late. He would stay, and he would just, anything he could to be there a little longer. But he usually would target me, and I didn't mind. He needed a friend. I tried to be his friend, okay? Did I enjoy it? Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I enjoyed being his friend. Even got to the point where I trusted this man and invited him to family functions and shit, like I said, kids' birthdays, stuff like that. And then one night, after D&D, Jackass decides to fucking catch my wife off to the side, say some inappropriate, suggestive things to her. Like he thought his dorkass was going to walk up into my fucking D&D group in my home and snatch my wife away. So I warned him, if I ever see you again, I will kill you. I don't use that threat very often, mostly because I don't want to kill anybody. It's one thing to do it when you're overseas in a war, but it's a completely different thing to do it just because you decided somebody needs to die. Because as Gandalf said, it's easy to take a life, but you can't give one back. And Gandalf, well, he's a fucking wizard, guys. Yeah, a wizard. Something like that, right? pretty cool. The hot glue marks where my steps aren't great, but otherwise it's pretty cool. So spray painting this would be an easy fix, but I'm worried that spray painting it might not be the answer. So let's get it on a base. Not big enough. Hold on. Let me find something over here. These are like plastic little discs from some shapes thing I bought at an Amish store when I was on my way through Amish land. Anything I can take out of circulation in Amish land, it's a win for the non-Amish, getting toys from them. Glue, super. Oops, didn't mean to go over the edge there. Sometimes I make little boo-boos. Okay. Now, I suppose you're wondering if I ever saw that guy again. And if I had to kill him. Years later, my oldest son and his girlfriend and me and my little boys and my wife were at a flea market. And encountered said Super Chode. I didn't see him at first, but I was walking with my son's girlfriend, who, you know, my son's an adult. My oldest son's an adult. I have 4 sons, but not all of them are adults. Well, technically 5, but anyways. She goes, some dude just looked at us and ran. Who's that guy running? Well, I had forgotten completely about the situation. It had been a couple years, and you know, he never reared his ugly head again, so I didn't worry about it. But lo and behold, I look up, and it's that guy fucking running. And I don't mean like just casually walking the opposite direction. No, like speed walking. He's a heavier person. Speed walking away from me. And I thought to myself, holy shit, Doom. That's the man you are. You're the guy. You're the monster that created a grown man running because you had to make that threat. Now, do I feel bad for making that threat? I don't. No, I really don't. You crossed every line. You did that to yourself. The fact that I had to threaten you, I have no guilt in that. Maybe my threat was excessive, but his behavior was unconscionable and just wasn't going to work. Okay, so we're going to let that cool for a second and let that get set up. I think we're about 34 minutes in. I looked about 5 minutes ago. We're going to let that sit for a minute. And then we're going to paint it with some Mod Podge and black paint. And I don't know what we're going to use to mix those in, because I usually use something that I'm just going to recycle or something that doesn't have this is a large waste profile. This is the exact kind of stuff I preach against using, guys. Plastics that just aren't going to get recycled. They're going to get thrown into the dump and create space and waste. Just like this. Am I a hypocrite? You're damn right I am today. Because I paid money for these, we're going to use them. Okay. A bit of Mod Podge. A little bit of black paint. I'm going to dip my crappy brush in water and add that. Something like that. I'm going to check to see if this glue is dryish. And it seems to be. Then I'm going to paint this up. Yeah, when Mrs. Gruda, or well, Lady Doom, you guys don't know me personally, I guess, but when Lady Doom said, hey, you know, this dude just said this to me, I went out and I was like, dude, did you say this to my wife? Even though I believed her, you know. And he was like, well, I mean, you... Like, all right. All right, dude. All right. You know, and I told him, I didn't just, like, threaten him without any kind of predicate. I said, you know, I invited you to my freaking kids' parties and, you know, holidays and events. You know, I included you in our life. I gave you, you know, trust, and I showed up to your events. You know, when his grandmother died, he didn't have any friends that showed up. Even half of his family didn't show up, but I was there. So whenever he did this, I was just like, I can't fucking cope with this. I can't imagine why he would do this. So when I threatened him, after I told him how upset I was and how I couldn't believe he would do this and try to, you know, disrupt my family, he didn't even defend himself. He was just like, yeah, well, you know. So I threatened him that he was never to come back. I was never to see him again. If I found out he came near my wife or my family, I would have to kill him. So that's that. That's the end of that story. That's as exciting as that ever got. If exciting is even the word to describe that. I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to put a piece of tape over this, like a couple pieces of tape over this. I'm going to save this for another use, because I have some other stuff I'm working on. So, to paint this from this point, I'm going to air dry it. I'm going to dry brush it gray. I'm going to dry brush it medium gray. Then I'm going to dry brush it lighter gray. Then I'm going to come into some of the weird spots and the funky spots and use some watered down green and all that jazz. But we'll do that in the next video. This is going to take a while to dry. I'll hit it with the air gun, enjoy some tobacco, and then I'll come back. So thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell icon, and pray for your buddy, the guy who said inappropriate, terrible things to my wife and is still creeping out there, because you've all met him. You've all met him before. There's one in every one of your lives, I'm sure. And most of you would probably run him away. And if you're the woman and that guy's in your life and your husband does not run him off, well, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't think I have any female viewers according to the algorithm unless it lies. Which is funny, because I don't like gear my shit towards men. I gear my shit towards just being a good person the best I can. My rants. Maybe there's just not a lot of female crafters in the D&D realm, you know, and if there are, they're watching female creators. I don't know. And I don't mark my shit for children, so I doubt we're going to get a lot of kids watching, because I don't really want to make content for children. Not that I don't like children. I have children, and I craft with them and stuff. But the reason I don't do that is because I don't want to be responsible for anything that gets repeated that I say when I'm swearing or I'm being judgmental or I'm, you know, plus some of my content's kind of adult oriented. So make sure you leave comments, though. I do like the comments. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.